You know, we got so many very well recognized institutions in the town that don't say that they're in the town.
That's true.
And that's
true.
That's a culture we've got to change.
You know, our economic development committee that I sit on and attend once a month, you know, we've got a golf tournament that's been in Farragut for years and years and years. Nobody ever identifies that with Farragut. It's the Knoxville Open.
Until last year when we
well,
insisted
that's because
on
we all complained, and we all brought it to their attention, and now
and they did it.
And they did it. So it can be done.
Even in this case.
Even in this case. Thank you, Ed.
Let me just say this. I went over there and looked at the place today, went inside, and you're going to be surprised. The place is just absolutely huge.
You want to?
When I remember that when it was Outlets Market, you know, you had rows that looked like wings of a place. They're gone. And it's just a huge building.
It is big. It will be the largest facility of that type in Tennessee. One of the largest in the South.
They took 87 HVAC systems
off the roof
and put 67 back. Not of the 87, 67 new ones, bigger ones.
Everything but the walls are new. You won't recognize it. Of course, it was, you know, just a dump really when we took it over, but you will not recognize it. I'll be happy to take anybody that wants to see it. If you just give me a call, I'll be happy to take you over there and walk you through it anytime you want to go.
I'd like to say that I think we all appreciate the fact that Turkey Creek is a very well managed development, and so I'm pleased that you all want to be recognized with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to me that's a plus.
Thank you. We're doing something as nice as we can there, and I believe you'll be happy with it.
I have one question. Is if you're going to open it in May, how are you going to get all the traffic that you expect to go in there?
We're working on that, Ed. Very perceptive there.
Hopefully will be done before too.
Let's all call Mayor Burchett and tell him to make sure that road goes on through. That's going to be critical to the town of Farragut and to us. Need to get Lovell Road fixed. Need a traffic light at the corner of Outlets Drive and Lovell Road. We need it real bad. Yeah, I know.
We hope to do that. Do you know? Okay. It's on air.
Any more?
We'll have 3 or 4 more free ones.
Excuse me.
Any more questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Yes.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for coming, Jim. Item number 9, discussion and public hearing on an amendment to the Farragut Subdivision Regulations, Article 4, Development Prerequisite to Final Approval. A required improvement to clarify easements rights, inspection rights, and the expansion of clear zones within right-of-ways. We talked about this last time.
Yes, we talked about this last time, and there have been no changes from what we talked about at the last meeting. And Resolution PC 1103 is exactly what we talked about, and staff recommends approval of Resolution PC 1103.
Questions? I think Ruth told us last time this was some housekeeping and some requests from the utilities. Any questions by anybody? Okay, motion? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me. Item number 10, discussion of amendment to the Farragut zoning ordinance, Chapter 4, Section 20, parking and loading. 3, to modify parking requirements for retail facilities, shopping centers, and other multiple-use buildings.
This has been something that the staff has been monitoring for quite some time with regards to parking rates within the town. Many of our parking rates are based on parking requirements that were established years ago. And we have a practice of many developers to actually build more than what we need. So we tried to wade through the excess parking spaces that we're seeing. So I included in your packets in the memo write-up was a list of a variety of developments in town, their gross square footage, the number of spaces provided, the number of spaces required, and the difference between. And at the staff level, we felt that the primary discrepancy that we're seeing is the parking requirements for big boxes. Freestanding big boxes. The list that I gave you included the Brooklawn Center, which is the new Kroger, Colonial Phase 3, which includes Belk's and Marshall's, Ingles, J.C. Penney, Kohl's Center, Gander Mountain. The reason we included all this was just to give you an idea of, you all are users of these facilities also. You know that if you go to Mellow Mushroom, you're going to have a hard time finding a parking space. You know that if you go to Dunkin' Donuts, it's at a premium. You know that if you go to Gander Mountain, even on the couple of weeks before Christmas, there is way more parking than you need. You know, if you go to J.C. Penney, it's the same situation. They have way more parking than they need. The difference between J.C. Penney and Gander Mountain is that Gander Mountain provided 19 additional spaces above what was required, and the J.C. Penney, about 42. So just, be about 20 to 40 more spaces than required. Even if you delete it, remove those extra spaces, they would still be overparked. Based on the parking needs for freestanding big boxes. Now, if you go to the Kroger Center, they're using their parking spaces. And as those tenant spaces are filling up, you're seeing that with a large center, they're still using the parking spaces. Now, the Kohl's Center, they have 120 extra spaces than what's required. If you took out those 120 spaces, they would probably be full. Now, you know where they all at that they would take off. They're down on the end where the tenant spaces are. It's all packed in front of the Kohl's. But I wanted to show the variation. And since you all are users too, are you seeing the same thing? Because I know that everybody uses things at different times. They see things at different times and that sort of thing. But our goal with this before you is that we do not, if an entity, I'll use, I won't use any particular business that's in town, I'll just use Business X. Depending on the size of their business, they may have businesses elsewhere, and they may know exactly how many parking spaces they need. So they will come in with a plan for a certain number of parking spaces. What we don't want to create is a situation where we are requiring more than what is really needed. Now, if somebody comes in and say, well, our market research and our practice and our experience shows we need additional parking spaces, they can accommodate it, but we don't want to be in a situation where we are requiring additional parking spaces, which means more asphalt, more stormwater runoff, that kind of thing, if it's not needed.
I'm just curious where the Lake Ridge retail, it says 166. Where are they? I know where it is because I go to Nukes, but where?
Drive, you know, they have all those parking spaces that lead up to it. If you ever notice, they're not ever parked. Of course, there's a bunch of illegal
In the
parking
back?
behind the building.
You're talking about,
No parking behind the back.
there's no parking
There
behind.
is some parking along
It's
the
on
back.
the side there is what you're talking about? That's include, as you're going up in the back of like Nukes and all of that.
If you're standing on Parkside Drive and you're looking at Nukes, underneath the power line there is a bunch of parking spaces, and that's where all their additional parking spaces are.
Oh, 'cause
And if
that
you've ever
other
noticed,
part is
there's no one ever
full.
really parks there.
I know, because the other part's full
But the
all
other
the
part
time.
is full. No. As a person who likes Nukes, I usually park down there because it's good. You know. There's
So
nobody
that's where
parked
you
near me.
usually. Okay, I didn't know where that. So that's. It doesn't seem like 166 is what parking
Yes,
spots. Wow.
But that kind of illustrates that our smaller centers, definitely we do not want to be reducing parking requirements.
Definitely not.
And, you know, the Colonial Phase 3, which includes Belks and Marshalls, that's still fairly new, and it's kind of hard to tell because they have, you know, they opened up, and then none of the tenant spaces ended up having tenants. So, you know, there's a fair amount of vacancies, so it's really hard to tell whether they're needing them or not because they're really not at, you know, occupancy at this point in time. Now they're filling up now, but right after they opened was when immediately the economy took the downturn, and they had a lot of leases that were broken because people ended up not going into those tenant spaces. But the two freestanding buildings that we have are Gander Mountain and J.C. Penney. Now, in looking at parking ratios and everything, I included in your staff backup as other parking requirements that we have in town. In general, retail is a standard 4 per 1,000 is what we have gone with, and that's what's been required with the J.C. Penney and the Gander Mountain. Obviously, for smaller facilities, that definitely holds true, but when you get to a larger facility, it's no longer really applicable. We have carpet, rug, linoleum, and floor covering sales, furniture, major appliances, retail warehousing, building supplies, home improvement supercenters, those kind of things don't require as many parking spaces because the items they're selling are really big. Yeah. Lumber or that kind of thing. Then the other two, dry cleaning and laundry collection stations, and liquor stores, they have a very large inventory, but you're really not creating a lot of foot traffic. So again, a situation of where you're having a lower parking requirement. I also included the shopping centers and other multiple use buildings with their parking requirements. And we established these a few years ago, and based on, you know, the table that was on the first page, these are actually pretty accurate. Now, staff didn't come up with these. We relied on the Institute of Traffic Engineers Parking Generation Manual to come up with these numbers, and they are very accurate for what, they appear to be very accurate for what we see at the staff level, but I wanted to throw it out there to see if you all are seeing something different. But the freestanding retail stores, I think we've got some over parking. Would not recommend ever going below 3.5 spaces per 1,000, just because the type of sales that you have, they aren't, generally speaking, bulk items. Those are, you know, already identified separately. But somewhere, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, something like that. We just don't want to require people to pave more than what they really need, and
Same time, we're not limiting if they want to do that.
correct.
I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but the public market, how many, I forgot, how many did we say for that? Because I know that was a kind of a concern when we, do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head.